Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA veteran Rolando Velasco. Rolando, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for doing it. Rolando, you got a fight coming up August 6th at Tachi Palace Fights 24. How's training been going for the fight?
Training's been going great. Honestly, one of my best camps I've had in a long time. Just feeling overall great. Doing a lot more in my training camp, but also at the same time not feeling too burnt out or too overworked. So I'm feeling great for this camp.
Mm-hmm. Are you still teaching classes at the gym even though the fight is right around the corner?
Actually, no. When I'm in a fight keep, I have some of my other teammates cover classes for me, or my instructor will cover classes for me. So at this moment, my instructor's covering classes for me, and I'm able to focus 100% on my training.
Mm. This fight on August 6th is nothing new for you. You're back fighting in Lemoore at the Tachi Palace. You fought there many, many times in the past during your career. I'm just curious, have you ever thought to yourself, in your spare time, just laying around thinking to yourself, have you ever thought about what your career would look like if Tachi Palace didn't exist?
Yeah, not really. I have fought in other places,
right.
Like, what is it? Like in Rich, they had the Cage Combat when Cage Combat was around. I fought for them a couple times. I fought in Porterville for Eagle Mountain Casino. So I've been to other promotions, but I do think about that, and I think how fortunate I am to have the Tachi Palace, because they take good care of their fighters, and it's fairly close. It's not too out of the way or too far out into some nowhere area where it's kind of hard to find. So, yeah, I do think about it sometimes. I like that I have the Tachi or PFC now it's Tachi to go to and fight there. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Now, because you fought so many times at the Tachi Palace, do you have a set routine, and if so, what is it?
Yeah, kind of, sort of, I guess. I try to get there early, get into my room, get settled, and then cut weight if I need to. If not, just wait around for the media stuff and the weigh-ins. Then after that, I go to a specific restaurant that I go to and always order the same meal. And then right after that, I just head up to my room. I have my snacks and drinks and stuff that I use to rehydrate myself. And yeah, it's pretty much the same routine every time I go. I don't have it set where it's like it's got to be this way, or everything's gonna go out of whack. No, I don't have I'm not like that, but I do have a somewhat routine that I follow. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Sleep in, wake up, I have the specific breakfast that I get, have a lunch, and then just waiting around for the fights, yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of cool to know the schedule every single time, how it's going to be, what to expect. Puts my mind at ease. Mm-hmm.
This fight on August 6th will be for the vacant TPF Bantamweight Championship. If you win this fight, you'll join a very small pool of fighters who have been able to capture both the PFC belt and the Tachi Palace Fights belt. Papis Martinez, he captured the interim PFC Lightweight Championship, and obviously he grabbed the featherweight and lightweight belt for Tachi Palace. Then there's Art Arciniega, he grabbed the PFC and TPF featherweight belts. And then there's Nate Logren, who grabbed the PFC middleweight belt and the TPF welterweight belt. So if you win this fight, you'll join that small group of fighters. I'm just curious, were you aware that there was just this small group of people who have been able to capture both belts? And what would it mean for you to have both of those belts?
That's really cool. Honestly, I didn't know that was so small. I didn't even think about it that way, who's captured the PFC belt and the Tachi belt. That's really cool to know, yeah. Well, knowing that is definitely a lot more meaningful to me now. But it was already very meaningful to me. I don't know, just something that I had a goal. I set myself to capture that TPF belt since I had the PFC belt. I just it means a lot to me. At the time when I won the PFC belt, to be honest, I didn't really follow MMA that much. I was just doing MMA because it was fun, and I really didn't know what the promotions meant. So I was just out there fighting. So when I won that belt, it was cool, but I didn't realize the significance of it. And now that I'm older and I've been around the scene more, I realize how much that belt means and the history behind it and everything. So it means a lot to me now. And so winning that belt, yeah, it's definitely something I want to accomplish before I head into the big shows.
Mm-hmm. You turned pro in 2006. You've been around the sport for a while now, almost 10 years in the game. And you've been champion for PFC before. You've put together some win streaks. I'm just curious, when you started your MMA career, at this point in your career, where did you think you'd be at right now?
At this point right now, getting back into fighting, I believe I should be in the UFC. I know I'm good enough. I know I'm at that level. So at this point now, I do believe I should be in these bigger shows. Years back, way before this moment, you know, like I said, I didn't know where the sport was going at the time. UFC didn't even have a bantamweight or featherweight class. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just mostly the regional shows. WEC was the one show that was that profiled the lower weight classes. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, I really didn't know much about it either, like how much they paid. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to make a career out of it because I was a full-time college student at the time, so I was fighting and going to school at the same time. And actually, I took a break off from fighting to finish school. I went to because I was in Modesto training in Oakdale, and then I transferred to UC Davis, and that's where I finished my schooling. And at the time, I put fighting aside just because I knew UFC wasn't. They didn't have a smaller weight class, and it just didn't seem much like a career option at the time. So I went to go get my degree, and then once school was over, and that's when the MMA scene really started blowing up, and I started to see the opportunities. Then I decided to come back and dedicate my time to it full time to see where it takes me, mm-hmm. and hopefully end up in the big show.
Just curious, back when you were the PFC champion, did WEC ever contact you? Because a lot of people after that fight, when you won back in 2008, a lot of people thought that would be the best landing spot for you. You know, a lighter weight guy just won a belt in Lemoore. It makes sense for you to fight for them. Did they ever contact you?
Not that I know of. I know at the moment I won a fight. I think it was at PFC or maybe it was Cage Combat. And I remember my trainer calling me and asking me, and it was a big name guy. I can't remember who. I want to say it was Miguel Torres at the time. He was asking me how I feel about fighting him, but he didn't say where. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's. You know, I'm totally fine with it. Let's do it. And but it never happened, and I never really dug into the details of where it was going to be or when. And so no, I don't know if the WC ever contacted me. Like I said, at the time when I was first starting out, I didn't really care too much about the fighting scene, mm-hmm. or where or when I was going to fight. I just liked the sport, and I just liked to do it.
Right. Now, you brought up your 2-year absence from the sport. I'm just curious. I know you said that school was the main reason why you took that time off, but before that, you had 2 losses. You lost to Chris Cariaso and Walter Patterson. Did that play a factor? Like, had you won those fights, would you have still tried to balance school and fighting?
Yeah, probably would have. It was after those losses that I realized that I needed to do one or the other. I needed to dedicate 100% of my time to either school or either fighting. And I just realized I was being pulled in 2 different directions, and there was no way I was going to be able to succeed in both at the same time. I was taking some very rigorous classes, and there was no way I could do both. So when I fought Chris and when I fought Walter, I was trying to juggle both, and I was honestly up in Davis, and I was trying to commute down to Oakdale and train, and it was very hard to find any sort of training time or regimen. So after those losses, I realized, you know, I can't keep up with this part-time training and part-time schooling. I need to pick one or the other. So I decided to finish what I started the school, and then fighting will be there when I finish. So that was my decision.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you completely out of the sport, or were you doing a little bit of training just to keep up with the game and just stay in shape, or were you completely out of it?
No, I was training. Like I said, I do love the sport, and I couldn't stay away from it. So while I was up in Davis, I was training with the local boxing team. I actually joined the judo club up there and ended up competing for the judo club. And been doing some Muay Thai with a local trainer, a little bit of jiu-jitsu here and there. Yeah, so I was training with some tough guys up there. Yeah, while I was away from fighting, from competing at least.
Okay. Now, coming up on August 6th, you're going to be fighting Josh San Diego. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
I think he's a well-rounded fighter. I think he's a little underrated. He looks like mostly a stand-up guy, but most of his wins are by submission again. So he's well-rounded. I believe he's underrated. And I think it's going to make for an exciting fight. I'm really looking forward to it.
Were you surprised that they offered him to you as an opponent? Because there are a lot of people out there who thought that maybe they would bring back Ian Loveland and you guys would fight for the belt because he had it at one point in time, and because of injury, he had to vacate the title. There was a lot of people who thought that he was going to be your opponent. There were a lot of people who thought that maybe Jeremiah Labiano would get a fight against you because you guys were scheduled to fight, and he also owns the other best belt in the region, the West Coast belt. So were you surprised that they offered you San Diego?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised. And there was other names being thrown in there that would have challenged for the belt too. And then Ian Loveland, I've been following him and I've been watching his fights for a while, and it seems like he's been out of the fight scene for a while. For a moment, I just thought he retired or maybe moved away from the scene. So I was more surprised that it wasn't like Laviano or somebody else that's been more active and doing well lately. But it doesn't matter. I'm ready for anybody. If it would have been either or any of those opponents, and it would have been fine with me, and I would have been looking forward to it.
Were you impressed with Josh San Diego's last fight? He scored a very impressive knockout. Were you impressed by what he did?
As a fan, I was definitely into the fight. I'm a big fan of MMA, and and it doesn't have to be the big shows, even the little shows. Like, I get into it, I get impressed by all these wins. And that fight, I thought, was one of the most exciting first round fights I've seen in a while. So it was super cool to watch. As far as impressive, I guess so. It was good to see. It was impressive to see him come back after taking that hard last and weathering the storm that Hara was giving him, and then he came back with that knockout. So yeah, that was impressive. That was cool to watch too, as well.
Right. You mentioned that you like watching all the shows, whether it's a big show or a regional show. I'm right there with you. I can't wait for this card on the 6th. This is a great card, top to bottom. They got you, Papis Martinez, Labiano, Papazian, Isaac De Jesus, Ulysses Gomez. It's going to be a great card. I really like what they're doing there.
Looking forward to it, definitely.
Yeah. Now, do you watch a lot of film on your opponents? And if so, how much film have you watched on San Diego? I know he only has 5 fights, and I don't know how available his film is, but do you watch a lot of film?
I wouldn't say a lot. A little bit of film. I try not to focus too much on what my opponents are doing, because everybody's progressing. Everybody progresses after every fight. It's very rare that you see a fighter not get any better from his previous performance, especially if they're serious. And I know Josh is a serious fighter, and he wants to get into those big shows. So I watch a little bit of film just to try to catch some tendencies, styles, and that's about it. I don't really study it every single day and try to memorize certain moves or positions or anything like that, because, like I said, everybody's progressed. Everybody's a different fighter. Once they coming up to their next bout.
I hear a lot of people talking about this, but I don't exactly know what it means. But for whatever reason, people keep bringing it up when they talk about an undefeated fighter. And since Josh San Diego is an undefeated fighter, a lot of people say that an undefeated fighter is more dangerous because they don't know when they're in trouble, because they haven't lost, and usually when you're undefeated, you probably don't get in a lot of trouble. So people keep bringing that up. Now, at one point in time, you were in the same boat as him. You were an undefeated guy, young guy in the sport. Do you buy into that at all, that because he's undefeated, he's more dangerous, or do you not even look at the records and everyone is dangerous?
Yeah, I try not to look at the record. Yeah, in my eyes, everybody's dangerous. You know, I get people telling me sometimes, like, oh, you got this guy, his record is this, or this guy, oh, their record is that. To be honest, I pay no attention to that. To me, everybody is dangerous. Everybody has equal chance of beating anybody in this world division. I don't care what it is. I don't look past anybody. Yeah, at some point, I could say that as an undefeated fighter, you don't know what danger is until you run into it, until you hit it, and so you do have more confidence. But I don't think it plays a part. It plays a big part in this fight or in any other fight.
Mm-hmm. Right. I always say records are for DJs.
Exactly.
I always say that. Yeah. Just because.
That's a good. Yeah, definitely. I pay no attention to records.
Right. Now, without revealing your game plan, experience-wise, obviously the experience edge goes to you. You have a lot more fights than him, and you've been in the sport a lot longer than he has. I'm just curious, is that part of your game plan, without revealing too much and pulling back the curtain too far, but is a little bit of your game plan to use that experience against him, pull out maybe some veteran tricks? Is that part of your game plan?
I'm not planning on it, but I'm assuming it's going to show through. You know, in a fight, I don't really plan for a whole lot. I just let myself be as the fight unfolds. You know, and I would say, yeah, my experience has a lot to do with that. You know, I know I've been in a lot of different situations, and I know how to respond to those situations. So I hope when the fight comes, yeah, my experience will show through.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you win this fight, you will become the TPF Bantamweight champion. But beyond that, what's at stake for you in this fight? Is this a fight that could propel you into the UFC? Do you envision that happening? Or is this just another step, another building block towards the ultimate goal, which is fighting in the UFC? You know, what do you think a win on the 6th does for you?
It depends on how I win. I truly believe that it's performances now that really get you in the UFC. So, I mean, like you were saying, you know, records don't really mean anything. So I'm trying to build my record, but I want to be winning impressively, and I feel like that's what gets eyes on you. That's what gets people talking about you, and so that's what I need for this next fight. So, if I win impressively, I really think I should be getting that call. Should be very soon. But if not, I don't know, maybe it was a lackluster performance, or even if it is a pretty impressive performance, you know, I expect the call, but I'm not going to be waiting by my phone, you know, hoping that the call comes through. I'm just going to keep trying to win impressively, and if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, you know, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Rolando, we'll end on this. It's a little segment I like to call Really Random. That's where I ask you a random question, and you give me the real answer. Some of these questions are custom-made just for you, and some of these questions are random ones that I ask everyone. So here's the first question. Superpower you'd love to have?
Superpower, I think I would have to go with telekinesis. Move things with my mind.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I got a lot of favorite movies, but if I had to pick one, probably The Boondock Saints.
Movie you've seen the most times?
I think I watch a lot of scary movies all the time, so I think I'm going to have to go with Scream. I think I see that one the most.
You're engaged to Invicta FC fighter Kelly McGill. I'm just curious, when's the wedding?
It's actually next year. Next year around September.
Just curious, how did you meet her? Was it through fighting, or did you know her before she got into fighting?
It was through fighting. Yeah. Yeah, she walked in the gym and just training. We became good friends, and then one thing led to another.
I know she suffered a knee injury and she had to have surgery. I'm just curious, when will she be back in action?
Yeah, she had ACL surgery, and she's just recovering from that. We're just waiting for the doctor's clearance. She should be back maybe late this year or early next year.
What are the pros and cons of dating a fellow fighter?
Pros is just we're both on the same page, and it's just she knows what that most of my time or what I do is around fighting, and I understand that about her, and it's really cool when we're in camp. I could help her out if I'm not in camp, or she could help me out if I'm in camp, or if we're both in the same camp. It's awesome. So it's just being on the same page, like mentally, physically. Cons? I don't know if there's any cons. The cons would be like if she's cutting weight and I'm not, and I'm eating whatever I want, she kind of doesn't like that. And of course I don't like it either. We wish we could go out and eat whatever we want or have dessert after a meal, but sometimes when we're on different camps, that could be the cons of it.
Right.
Or here's another con. If we're going through a fight or if we're having a little argument at home, she kind of takes it out on me on the mat.
Oh, okay. What's your pet peeve?
Pet peeve? Don't have much pet peeve. Maybe selfishness. When people get selfish, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Time period you'd like to go back and visit, and why?
Besides, like, the dinosaur age, that'd be cool, but I don't know. I wouldn't want to get eaten up by a dinosaur. I'd have to say the Wild West seemed kind of fun back then.
Person you look up to the most?
I'd have to say my parents, my mom and dad. My dad is definitely the hardest worker I've ever known, and my mom is just really ambitious. I love her drive.
What's your hidden talent?
Hidden talent? I don't know if I have much hidden talents anymore these days. I used to be able to play the piano all right, but I kind of gave that up, so I guess I just have to say a little bit of piano playing here and there.
Best advice you were ever given through life, and best advice you were ever given through fighting?
Best advice through fighting would probably be from my coach. We'd say enjoy the struggle, enjoy the journey. And I don't know, that really sunk in for me. Through life, I remember my dad always telling me to never stop learning, to always keep striving to better yourself and to learn. And it doesn't even have to be like through fighting or just in life in general or people in general. And I really like that. And I still try to live through that advice.
What do you worry about? What's something that keeps you up at night?
I sleep pretty well at night. I have to say that. Nothing really worries me too much. Like I said, I always try to stay pretty positive. But if I have to say something that keeps me up, maybe just living up to my potential. Maybe wondering if I'm doing enough.
Number one thing on your bucket list?
Bucket list. Number one thing? I'd have to say traveling the world like my fiance.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change and why?
One thing about the world, I would want everybody to not worry about food, like end world hunger, as cheesy as it sounds. But I say that because I believe definitely the world would be a lot better if people didn't have to worry about when they're going to get their next meal, or they could focus on other things, as far as bettering themselves instead of trying to just work to get the next meal. And I have to say that. Mm-hmm. Wish everybody would be stable in that sense.
Rolando, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Sponsors, I'd like to thank Dragon Doe Fight Gear. They sponsor both me and my fiance with some awesome gear. Mike Souza from Full Force in Modesto, he's our strength and conditioning coach. And I definitely can't thank him enough. He's definitely the reason that I'm doing so well. Really. Humbled athletes, apparel. I like to thank Drink Milk, and definitely the Last Stand team at Oakdale, Merced, Sonora, and all my teammates out there, and my coach, Professor Tom. Without them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Yeah, and as far as fans, I can't thank enough the support that everybody gives me. My friends, my family, my fiance, everybody. It definitely isn't. I couldn't do what I'm doing and be where I am without them, without their support. So yeah, from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to thank everybody, all my sponsors, them. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Rolando, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck August 6th at Tachi Palace Fights 24 against Josh San Diego.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.